Yo, what's up, guys? Let me just confirm that we are live before we get started. For some reason, it takes a few seconds on my end. Looks like we're good to go. There we go. All right, cool. What's up? Hope you're all having a great Monday. Hope you all had a nice Sunday. I had a winning day, but not as, I got off to a great start in the 1 p.m. window. Still finished in the green, just not as nice as it could have been after the start. That the under in Falcons Commanders lost a unit on that, and then the Packers. So it took a couple losses later on, but still a winning day. I'll take that. We got some NBA tonight, a Monday Night Football game. Toast is going to come on and talk about some college basketball as well. So not the most loaded night. Actually, the next 2 days after this are going to be crazy. The bowl games tomorrow are really cool. You know what? Got to give some credit to bowl season, man. They took a lot of criticism in the last couple of years. I'm getting a video ready for tomorrow's games. I mean, we got Alabama, Michigan, where Alabama's like playing their full team almost. And there's some games tomorrow where it's like, these players are for the most part playing in these games. So it's not exactly what they're kind of like fighting back a little bit bowl seasons. A lot of these players are playing in the game. So it's been fun so far. But anyway, speaking of bowl games, Iowa team total over already cashed in the first half. If you watched the video I uploaded last night, you got that. Unfortunately, I bet Iowa plus 2.5. I made the video, uploaded it, woke up the next morning, decided to bet Iowa plus 2.5. So I'm still sweating. But if you took that team total over, you already won. All right, let's talk NBA. Chris, how was your weekend and all that?
It was good, man. It was good. NBA has been treating me well as of late, Cal. We had a very successful show on Friday. Saturday, I think 2-0, 3-0, and then yesterday just Pacers plus the 11.5, 12.5, whatever they were getting was my only NBA bet. So really, I know we enjoy doing these shows early, Cal, but like the injury report is so gruesome in the NBA right now that you can't, like, I placed the bet last night. We'll talk about it in a second. I placed one bet last night and was like, just have unit, because no idea what the injury report is going to do, how it's going to matriculate itself today. And we already see Kyrie Irving ruled out like 30 minutes ago. So glad it wasn't on Denver plus the points.
Yeah, I was actually considering you looking at the Kings in that one before the Kyrie news, but you can't take them. But yeah, the NBA right now is tough. Last year, I was about even heading into January, and then I got hot in January. So I'm hoping there's a shift in that respect. And I'm not so much talking about winning and losing, but last year, when we got into January, February, March, I remember looking at the slate, placing 3 bets the night before, waking up to see I got positive CLV on all 3. And it felt, I don't want to say easy, because like this shit is not easy, but it felt like I don't know. It just felt like I could see it and I'd be like, oh, that's 6. That should be 8.5. And then this year I'm looking, and maybe it's just early in the season, but I'm looking and I'm like,
this feels it's a lot of variance too, though, Kyle. Like, it's a lot of variance. The viewership is down, like all of those things too. Like, teams are just laying eggs, and you, like you said, I guess you always do a pretty good job of like being able to find those, I guess, differences in markets and being like, I'm not trusting this team, maybe 5, but not 7.5. So I guess I'll give you a little bit of that. But these teams are all over the place for sure.
Let's see if we can find some. I do have a couple NBA bets open. All right, Bulls, I'm sorry. That's next game. Knicks, Wizards. The reason I'm skipping to the Bulls is because that's the one I bet. I didn't touch this game. Wizards played the Knicks tough in the last one. I would imagine the Knicks take this game a little bit more seriously and beat the shit out of them. Wizards haven't looked all that bad, though. I guess just Knicks or pass. I have zero interest in betting this game.
I don't have any interest either, Kyle, so we'll be quick. But and the thing that limits my interest here is like the Jordan Poole didn't play last game. He's listed as questionable. Kyle Kuzma was back. That changes a little bit. But Brunson also is listed as questionable. He just had 55. Y'all needed 55 from him the other night, Kyle. You can say it was the second leg of a back-to-back, coming in from Orlando. But that, it feels like Tibbs is, I don't know, long-term, Kyle, I'm kind of like, you don't really want to go to overtime with the Wizards and need 55 from Brunson in December to keep your winning streak alive. But it just kind of happened that way. I do think the Knicks probably come out with something early. Knicks are 0-5 against the spread in their last 5 first quarters. They've been starting off very slow. And the Wizards have been starting off a lot hotter. They actually lost the first quarter outright as a 13.5-point favorite last game, 33-32. So Knicks early, should be Knicks often as well. I think Kyle Kuzma probably throws the rotation off, probably going to look a little rusty. Don't expect the Wizards to shoot 45% from the three-point line. I think that was the highest three-point percentage they shot all season so far. So I do expect the Knicks to be about right, but I would need to see what the line goes down to without Brunson in this one.
All right, let's just move on to the next game. I bet this one, and maybe I'm the most square dude in the world. But yeah, how do you not lay the 5 with Chicago here? The Hornets, we're rocking with no LaMelo Ball. We're talking about no Brandon Miller. We're talking about no Bridges either. There's just this Hornets team in the games they play with LaMelo Ball. They're like very clearly, if not the worst team in the league, one of. They look so bad without LaMelo Ball. So I don't know how you don't lay the 5. Now, as far as on paper, it's actually not even the greatest matchup for the Bulls. The Hornets don't do a lot of things great, but they actually have played good defense in transition, and the Bulls like to get out in transition. So, Bulls also like to take a lot of three-point shots, and the Hornets weirdly have some nice-looking efficiency numbers against the three-point shot. So it's not even a particularly great matchup for the Bulls. I guess that's maybe why this line's being held up at 5. But I just think that if you take out Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball, that the Bulls are just so much better than the Hornets, because that Hornets team without those players out there is just so bad. So I would imagine the entire world is betting Bulls -5. This is probably the most square bet in the world, but I took it.
Yeah, you'll get a little CLV, Kyle, if those guys do end up getting ruled out, because they haven't been yet, right?
They're doubtful. They're doubtful.
Yeah, all of them listed as doubtful. And if they don't play, it's probably Bulls by 10, if we're being honest with ourselves. So I agree with you. I didn't bet it just because of that. Too many things holding me up on the injury report. I do think so this is a quote, Kyle, that came out. So the Bulls lost 3 games in a row, right? And then they are home dog against the Bucks on Saturday, 2-point home dog. They win the game outright, even though Dame comes back. After the game, Zach LaVine says, quote, "We're capable of beating anybody, and we've shown that we can lose to anybody and have terrible games." And that's how I kind of feel about the Bulls. Yeah. Like, they can beat anybody, they can lose to anybody. So I stayed on the sideline this one, but with the injuries, I probably will end up making a play. And if the line comes down a little bit too much, and I can get the Bulls closer to like 2.5, I do think they're a much better team over Charlotte right now.
Yeah. All right, let's go on to the next one. What do we got? Clippers, Pelicans. I kind of wanted to take the Pelicans here. I know it's disgusting. You can't do it. I didn't bet it. I kind of wanted to take the Pelicans just for the fact that we're all down on New Orleans, right? They look absolutely terrible. I mean, we do have to admit, this team, Houston, the Knicks, the Nuggets, the Rockets again. They're playing tough teams here. If you're winding back a couple weeks ago, they were playing some easier teams. They were covering the number here and there. They beat Phoenix. They covered against the Spurs. They covered against the Kings. So I think this might be a buy low on the Pelicans. I can't take it because the Clippers look pretty good. A lot of times we're getting this Clippers team in the underdog role, laying points on the road a little different. So I didn't have the balls to actually do it, but I actually think the Pelicans might win this game. Chris?
Why, Kyle? Why do you think they're going to win?
Chris was so bewildered, it took about 10 seconds for him to gather his
thoughts. They're playing okay. In the last 5 games, they're playing the red-hot Pacers in Indiana, the Rockets in Houston, the Knicks, the Nuggets, which they covered, by the way, against the Nuggets, and then the Rockets again. The last 5 games, they're playing like the best teams in the league. If you rewind before those last 5 games, they're actually 3-1 against the spread. They're not as injured as they were earlier in the season. Yeah, Ingram and Zion are still out, but McCollum, DeJounte Murray, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, that's not a terrible lineup. It's not like this Clippers lineup is dripping with talent. I think it might be a buy low on the Pelicans. I think they're going to win.
Okay, all right. You know what? I can give you that. Here's my counter argument to that, Kyle. The Clippers, not only have they also been playing against some really good competition. They got the Mavs twice, the Grizzlies, and the Warriors, which I don't know how good the Warriors are. Like, let's leave them off the list. But before those 4, they had the Jazz, which the Jazz aren't good, but they also had the Nuggets and the Rockets, Timberwolves on here. So the Clippers have also been playing against competition. The Clippers are also 6th. Well, actually tied for 5th in the West right now with the Lakers and the Lakers and the Clippers are tied. Only a game and a half, it looks like, behind the Dallas Mavericks. So the Clippers are actually another one of those good teams, Kyle. I would kind of put them in that same tier of those teams that you just talked about. I was looking into this game, and the Clippers are best ATS team as a favorite so far this season. 9-1 straight up, 8-2 against the spread. They've only been road favorites twice. 2-0 straight up and against the spread in that spot. And what have they been doing it with? They've been doing it with defense, Kyle. This team is a really good defensive team. I know that the money's coming in. This was all the way up to 6.5. It's all the way down to 4.5 now. I think the Clippers can get 2 stops at the end of the game if it's a close game. Defensively, like just hanging their hats there. They're the 3rd best defensive team last 5 games, number 1 in opponent effective field goal percentage. I do think that they can shut down this Pelicans offense that doesn't do a lot well. You really just need, if you like the Clippers in this spot, you need them to not give up a ton of offensive rebounds because that's one of the only things that the Pelicans is doing well. They're 6th in offensive rebound rate over the last 5 games. And you need them to be able to get back in transition because the Pelicans have been pushing pace. The Clippers, surprisingly, even though they're 3rd best defense, bottom 5 in transition defense. So if they can do those things well, I think they can win this game by double digits. So I didn't play it because I don't like that the way that the line is moving, but 4.5, it'd only be Clippers for me here, Kyle.
All right. Let's move on to the next one. That's not the one. Here's the other one I bet. Oh, is it 6.5 now already? I just bet this like an hour and a half ago. I got 7.5. Let me check to see.
Denver, Utah?
Yeah. No, you could get 7.5. I took the Jazz at 7.5 here. The Jazz actually haven't been playing nearly as bad. On the full season, they're one of the worst teams in the NBA. Last 5 games, they're 16th in offensive rating, 18th in defensive rating. They've actually been trending in the right direction in a major way. Last 5 games, they're looking like a pretty average basketball team against a pretty average schedule. They're 14th in strength of schedule in that time. In fact, if you isolate it to just the last 5 games, you can make an argument that Utah's been playing on an efficiency level, about the same level of basketball as Denver. Yeah, so laying 7.5 on the road. There was something else I really liked. I didn't write it down.
Was it Jamal Murray? I see a player prop here.
Oh, maybe that's not mine. I don't have a Jamal Murray prop.
Me either.
Might have been Lindy's because he was supposed to. Maybe
One second. Go ahead, Chris. I'll see if I can find. There was something specifically I liked about the matchup. I didn't write it down.
No, that's cool. That's cool. I'm with you on this one. Okay, I didn't bet it. Really wanted John Collins in. I know we talked about this on Friday. Don't like him as much, but they've been covering it. I tried to fade him at home when they got back home the other day against Philly, and they covered that game. They covered first quarter. Didn't cover full first half, but they did cover full game. You mentioned it. Utah. What is it? 7 of Denver has owned them. First of all, they've won 7 of the last 10. They covered both times that they played so far this season. But for Denver, the spot here, Kyle, 6 game in 9 nights. Don't like that a lot at all. And Utah, they've lost 3 straight, but 7 of the last 10. But they've covered 5 in a row. That's what it was. Offensively, they've looked a lot better. 9-1 to the over in their last 10 games. And what I liked about this spot, Kyle, was the Nuggets. I talked about this last week when you said, I think it was one of the games you liked them. Just wildly inconsistent team. Like they smoked Detroit the other day to stop Detroit's winning streak, but the night before that they lose outright. As a road favorite this season, 1-8 against the spread. You can't lay points with this team. They're losing by average of 1 point, but now they're laying 7.5. Don't like that as much, even though they have owned Utah. And then the other thing was just the consistency factor. After they've covered a game this season, the Nuggets are 4-7 against the spread, winning by average of 1 point. So this is not a good road team. They're much better at home and not a consistent team. So both of those trends I just talked about were consistency, and that's one thing that they have not been. I like that Keontae George got rolled in. I really want John Collins to be there, but I'll be with you here, Cal. Plus the 7.5 for nothing. Not laying it with Denver here.
Yeah, I'm on this. I bet this one. So the Jazz have covered 5 in a row. So if you've been betting the Jazz blindly, you've hit 5 bets in a row. Meanwhile, Nuggets 2-4 against the spread in their last 6, 1-6 against the spread in their last 7 on the road. So if you've been betting the Nuggets on the road, you are literally getting smoked recently. 1-6 in your last 7. Jazz covered 5 in a row. Next. Philadelphia on the road at Portland. No interest in this game. Looked at it for 2 seconds. I'm good.
Was it Philly or was it Portland, Kyle? Why no interest in this one? Because I don't got none either.
Yeah, we don't even have. You just run a poll for a second, see if they're interested.
If you had to play it, Kyle, which way would you go? Let's get a view of something.
Jesus. I guess I guess Portland. There's a lot of injury question marks there.
Did Chauncey give a speech today?
Someone said John Collins ruled out 2 hours ago. Yeah, I already knew that. I bet it after that.
Yeah, he did not give a speech, probably, but not that I know of. He did lose. I think he lost his grandmother a couple games ago, and they've been playing really well for him in that regard. I know they just beat the Mavericks outright the other day as a 4.5 point dog. Got to cover. They won against the Jazz, didn't cover.
Okay.
But just wildly inconsistent are the Trailblazers. I don't really want anything to do with this game. I think that the Sixers are going to turn it around, Kyle, but they're still being overpriced. Like, there's enough space here for them to win the game and not cover the spread. And that's exactly what happened in Utah the other day. So wouldn't surprise me if they were able to. And they got the Lakers on deck as well. Not until Thursday, but they got the Lakers next. So, I don't want to get in on this one at all. Didn't even like the total. I think it's about appropriate in my opinion.
Let's go to the next game. I wanted to bet Golden State here. I couldn't do it. I mean, Cleveland's just been so much better. Golden State just does not look good. Do you have a bet in this one?
Yep, only thing I've placed so far.
This is the
one I placed last night. Cleveland, Cleveland minus the 3.5 here, Kyle. Just really, I said this is more on my show, Kyle. Like, sometimes I try to come on and try to be sharp and go against the thing that's like really, really working. I'm not betting against Cleveland right now, Kyle. You said this. I know you bet against them against Denver the other day, but you said this about 2 weeks ago. You said when Denver gets hot, you just ride them. Like, this is one of the teams you just blindly bet. And it's not a blind bet. It's more so Cleveland offensive efficiency is like a 132 right now. Golden State just doesn't have enough to keep up, in my opinion. In layman's terms, Cleveland has won in their last 9 wins. Each one of them have come by double digits. Meanwhile, 6 of Golden State's last 7 losses have they've lost by margin in every single one of them. So Golden State is 9-4 against the spread as a dog. If you're looking towards backing the Golden State team here, 5 straight unders in that spot. So I do agree with the total coming down. But I'll continue to take Cleveland. 7-3 against the spread in their last 10. The only thing you need for Cleveland to make sure that they win this game is they got to guard the 3-point line. Because Golden State get hot from 3. Cavs are second worst 3-point defense right now. But even if they get hot, do the Golden State Warriors defense have enough to slow down this crazy Cleveland offense? The Cleveland offense is like light years better than Boston's right now. Yeah. So I don't think that they have enough. I think 2 possessions is – I got this opened at 3.5. I took it at 4. It reached 4.5. Then it got bet down. Now I'm seeing still around – you still can get a 4. I thought it was going to move. So I only put a half unit on it last night. But, I'll take the Cavs to win the game by 2 possessions.
There are a couple angles here I like for Golden State. I mean, Cleveland's played the weakest schedule in the NBA in the last 10 games. Weakest schedule. 30th in strength of schedule in the last 10 games. Golden State's 4th. They play the stronger schedule. Also, Cleveland runs a ton of pick and rolls. 2nd in the NBA in pick and roll frequency. Golden State 1st in the NBA in defensive efficiency against the pick and roll. They also defend in transition very well. 1st in defensive efficiency against the fast break. Matches up well against Cleveland. Also, Golden State keeps you from getting to the rim. Cleveland loves to get to the inside and score on the interior. It's like a good matchup for Golden State. The problem is just the overall raw production we're getting from both of these teams over the last 10 games. Or the last 20 games, last 10 games, last 5 games, last 30 games, doesn't matter. It's just so overwhelmingly in favor of Cleveland. They've been so much better. So, I mean, I guess you could put a Cleveland graphic up for me.
Can I ask you a question, Kyle? Can I ask you a question and let me tell you something based on what you said and then ask you a question. So you talked about the Cavs, which I agree with you. You mentioned, I think you said last 10 games for the Cavs, they've played against the easiest schedule. They've had the easiest schedule in the NBA so far. Like, we can't sugarcoat that. Like, they have not been playing the cream of the crop.
That's what I'm saying. This team's going to come back down to earth eventually.
But hear me out, Kyle, because I told you this against Denver the other day too. They're 7-2 straight up, 8-1 against teams with a winning record so far this season. Lakers, Magic, Warriors. They beat the Warriors already by 19 in Cleveland. Celtics, they beat them. Well, Celtics, they lost but covered. Celtics, they beat them. Nuggets beat them. Heat beat them. Bucks beat them. Nuggets beat them. So this is just a team that you really just don't want to bet against right now. The other thing I'll ask you, Cal, because some of those things that you just mentioned, I didn't look into. But them being so good against the pick and roll and guarding the rim a little bit better, do you think it's an under game? Because I think under could be in play. Can they really slow down Cleveland offense?
I don't know. I'm not betting this because Golden State's going to win. But based on what the information we have, it's tough to justify. If it was +7, but 4.5, anything under that 6 number, how do you not take Cleveland? Not betting it.
The last time I heard you say this, Kyle, you was talking about. I wasn't even on your show. You was doing the NBA Cup game, and you said I like the Bucks here, but I need 7.5, and they're only getting 4.
And they beat
they won the game outright. Yeah, they won the game outright. So
You're right.
Hopefully you're not on to something here. But the last time I heard you say you needed more points, you didn't need any points at all. So
shit,
something to take into consideration.
You're right. I did say that. And the Bucks like beat the Christ out of them. So maybe I take Golden State. All right. Dallas, Sacramento. I mean, this Kings team, bro. This Kings team is so bad.
The Kings. They're the Kings. They're back to the Kings now.
They're now laying 6.5, and the reason for that is Kyrie Irving is out. Luka Doncic is out. Hold on, let me see if there's any more injury updates here.
Lively's questionable.
Lively's questionable. You got
PJ Washington's back.
PJ Washington is back.
Yeah, from the little scuffle with Nurkic.
Yep. So yeah, no Luka. No, this isn't even updated yet. Kyrie's out. It doesn't say this on this site yet, but he's out. I saw that. So
and Najee, I think Najee's second game is this game, so he won't be out there. Najee Marshall.
So you're laying with the you're laying with the Kings then?
Absolutely not. No, I'm never laying with the Kings. The spot was last game, Cal, Saturday against Lakers, triple revenge. Doug Christie going back to the old days. You old enough to remember Doug Christie and Kobe getting into it, Cal. In the playoffs with Bobby Jackson and Vlade Divac and you and me both and Chris Webber and all those guys and Rick Fox. Like that was the spot. It was triple revenge. It was a divisional game. they gave up 140. No Bron. I can't do it. It'll be plus the points here with the Mavs, but I'm not doing that either. I think total wise, I agree with this coming under with it going under. Of course, the total coming down. So looking into some advanced stats just about 15 minutes before we got on the show. No Luka and Kyrie. The Mavs offense scores 15 fewer points per 100 possessions and give up 4 fewer points per 100 possessions. So I know the total's coming down. I agree with that, of course. Dallas playing at the 6th lowest rate last 3 games. Kings middle of the pack, right outside of the bottom 10 in pace last 5 games as well. The Kings bottom 10 offense and over the last 5 games, and both teams do a really good job of transition defense. So I think it'll be played at a little bit slower pace. One thing about the Kings that we've known throughout the full season, they can't shoot the 3-point shot. Dallas has been pretty good against the 3. So I think all of those things taken into consideration, it's probably an under game. I think under 224.5 would be my play if I had to make one here, but didn't play.
Someone said Kyle was probably 10 years old. How young you think I am, bro? Not that young. Let's go on to the next one.
What you think about under, Kyle? What you think about under?
No.
No?
I was actually considering over.
Really? Why? Tell me.
Because all Dallas does is score, and without Luka, they run even faster pace, and the Kings are, not playing defense in the last 5 games, 25th in defensive rating, so I think Dallas can still score without those two players.
No Luka and Kyrie? They think they still can score with no Luka and Kyrie?
Both those players account for all their isolation possessions. So you're talking about a team that moves fast paced, and now you take out the isolation possessions, you might get a shot attempt every 9 seconds. I'm good. I'm good. Next.
That's it, right?
Oh, that is it. Let's talk some football. Chris, seen them all?
Yes. Have a good night.
Let them.
Best of luck, fellas.
Hey, Steez. Steez in the chat. Nice Falcons bet last night, bro. Steez was in there chirping. He was feeling his shit, bro. He was feeling his shit. He had the Vikings, and almost everyone in the Discord had the Packers. So he was just like talking shit the whole time.
And he had the Thomas Downs ladder.
He had the what?
He had the Thomas Downs ladder.
Oh, he did. He took Thomas Downs as well.
We had the Josh Downs ladder. That wasn't much better. God, he fucking sucks.
Why are you so low on the screen?
There's a lot going on right now. I'm trying to fix it. I got gray in the middle of my head. There's like a magnetic ball. Just 1 second, okay?
All right. Fix your screen, bro. Here we go. Make yourself. There you go.
There we go.
See?
Now I'm a commanding presence.
Step up to the plate, son.
Now I'm a commanding presence. What the fuck is up?
All right. We got Lions 49ers here. Big question in this one is, how seriously do you take Dan Campbell's quote? I mean, Dan Campbell, he came out and said some shit like pedal to the metal, full throttle, whatever the insert generic football quotes that Dan Campbell uses. He used all of them, basically indicating they don't give a shit, that this game is meaningless. And I kind of believe him. I mean, doesn't that seem kind of on par with what you'd expect from Dan Campbell, is to not give a shit that this game's meaningless? And then like the added element of it's a revenge game from the NFC Championship where they blew a 21-7 lead.
I saw something that his wife posted, like an Instagram story about something like...
You follow Dan Campbell's wife?
No, listen, I'm not a fucking loser, but you know those weirdo accounts on Twitter that are like ML Football and like the, like Dolph Kleiman and those freaking freaks. Like, I saw one of those clowns like posted something that Dan Campbell's wife posted on Instagram, something about like taking over the North and this like weird ass thing. It's like, all right, maybe these people are like dialed the fuck in for this ball game
I think they might be, dude.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
And the 49ers right now, not playing for anything, they're like a wounded animal. And Dan Campbell's the type that'll just like put it out of its misery.
Dan Campbell gives no fucks. I mean, he'll bite a wounded animal. He doesn't care about the rabies. He's like that guy in Naked and Afraid. Like, he'll eat anything. He's like Gary.
Survival.
Oh, yeah.
So I think most people would agree that if this was a meaningful game for Detroit, that this line should be at least 4.5, 5, right? I think most people, based on the production we've seen from these two teams, I mean, San Francisco's been wildly inconsistent. I know we have a lot of question marks on the defense for Detroit. That's not debatable. Detroit's defense is in a situation. It really makes you think whether or not Detroit can even make a playoff run, the current state of the defense with all the injuries. But have you seen the current state of the 49ers offensive line? Can we get an injury update on that? Is there any updates on those players?
Yes, sir. Let's see. Okay.
We know Trent Williams and Aaron Banks are out. See if there's been any updates since last night.
Spencer Buford.
He's out. I'm waiting for McKivitz.
Okay, so wow, you've got both left tackles out. Wow. I'm feeling pretty good about Guerrero getting some dump offs here. That's nice.
So if McKivitz is unable to go, that's the right tackle for San Francisco. Mm-hmm. If McKivitz is unable to go, San Francisco will be missing their top 3 tackles, the top 3 tackles on the depth chart. In addition to that, so if McKivitz is unable to go, who, by the way, didn't practice on Friday or Saturday. Okay. So if McKivitz isn't able to go, San Francisco missing their top 3 tackles. In addition to that, San Francisco is missing Aaron Banks at left guard. Gets deeper than that. The guy who should be playing there is Feliciano. He's been on the IR for a couple months now. So if Aaron Banks is out, there's no Feliciano. You got a giant gaping hole at guard as well. You got a guy named Nick Zaka. I don't know how to say his name.
Can't even say his name. He's so
Can't even say his name. And that's not. I didn't mean that as offensive to him. Maybe he's great, but you got a giant hole at guard as well. So if McKivitz is unable to play, we're talking about the 49ers offensive line, the 4th and 5th tackles on the outside, and the 4th guard starting. So this 49ers offensive line is in a situation, and in case you haven't heard, their running back room is decimated with no McCaffrey and Jordan Mason. Guerendo's back, and I actually think Guerendo's pretty cool. He was cool at Louisville. He can play. But without an offensive line, I took Lions team total over 27.5. That's the bet I actually placed. It really comes down to the Dan Campbell, the motivation here for Detroit. This is a meaningless game. If Detroit wants to go over this number, they can. How about that? That's how I feel. If Detroit wants to score 28 points in this game, they can. So I'm betting on Dan Campbell wanting to score 28 points because he's just a little off in the head. Oh, I forgot to read the tennis bet. We'll do that later.
I mean, no offense, but I don't give a toot about that. This motherfucker Andy.
You don't give a toot about it?
No. This guy Andy made every graphic in the book for Lindy, who's not even on the show. Where the hell's my graphic, dude? Where's my bet?
He made all Lindy's graphic.
Dude, oh my god.
Well, let's share Lindy's bets.
Sick clown, bro.
Lindy's on the golf course right now. Let's share his bets.
Let's.
We have Lindy's bets here.
I guess we can share his bets, but like I get. So golf under 250.5 passing yards. The reason, I guess.
Well, we don't speculate his reasoning. We'll just share.
Okay, golf under 250.5 passing yards.
Okay.
Gibbs 100+. I was looking into that as well. But that's very win-loss based. So if you think the Lions are going to win, take that because I thought the line was a bit sus. That's the only reason why I didn't hop on this as well. But running backs against the Niners have been a cash cow. On top of that, with Dre Greenlaw out, it's even better. On top of that, Devondre Campbell, as much as he's a puss pop for leaving his team behind on the field after getting essentially benched, he was at least somewhat formidable in the rush defense. with Fred Warner's ankle all messed up, like that's a pretty good play if you like the lines. I think that's a good way to back him. Moody over kicking points, Jennings 70 plus.
And yet the matchup between the Lions offensive line and the 49ers defensive front, they should generate 3 or 4 yards of push on every snap.
Yeah, and then Purdy 25 plus. So those are all.
Those are Lindy's? Okay.
I mean, yeah, there's like an abundance of them. That's not any of mine. Thanks again, Andy. So my play for this one, it's 1.5 units. Again, thank you for no graphic. Is Garendo over 11.5 receiving yards. I think it may be at 12.5 now. Not exactly sure. Don't exactly care. Would play this up to 15.5. I have 1.5 units on 15.5. I'd play 20 plus for a good plus price. I don't know, like plus 130, plus, I don't know, 120 for a full unit. I really do like this play quite a bit. So let's go ahead and let's get into it. So the Lions' defensive linebacking core is the most vulnerable it's been all season due to the absurd amount of injuries that have stockpiled. As a team that plays both man and blitzes at one of the highest rates in the league, running backs are not going to get a high amount of opportunities against this Lions defense through the air. In fact, they get one of the fewest amount of opportunities through the air against this defense every week. But they allow an ungodly amount of damage when these running backs do get opportunities. So the defense already allows the most yards per reception on the season to running back position. But if we just isolate it to last 12 games, that hops to 10.6 yards per reception allowed. That is 1.5 yards more than the second closest team. As a result, during that span, they're allowing the 6th most yards per game to the running back position. Now let's look at the last 4 games where the linebacker core has really fallen apart. They're allowing 56 yards per game, 17 yards per reception to the running back position. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous here. Last 8 of 12 starting RBs to face Detroit have gone over their receiving yards line. And when Garendo is the starting back this season, he's 3-0 to the line. He's averaging 28 yards per game, averaging 3 receptions per game. He practiced all week, even upgraded to full on Friday, so I'm confident that he's going to get the bulk of those carries this week. And just look how bad that Patrick Taylor was in the passing game last week. I mean, he had 5 targets, 2 drops, 1 reception, 1 yard. We know that Shanahan's a guy who likes to really just have one workhorse. I don't think that Patrick Taylor's going to touch the field this week. And Purdy's really been targeting the running back position at a solid rate since Trent Williams went down. 5 targets, 4 targets, 3 targets, 4 targets. Now we got Trent Williams down. We got 2 other tackles potentially down here and a blitz coming at him. I think that we're going to see 4+ targets here for Isaac Garendo against a defense that allows the highest efficiency of yardage gained on these looks. So I think for 1.5 units here, I feel really good about this one. I think this should be at a line at 15.5 to 17.5 yards. So to begin this at 12.5, I believe it is at most books. I would have to go ahead and check that right now to see what the current line is. I don't know if anybody blasted that out there. That's, I don't know, I guess a big name in the capping community, but I'm sorry. But I do like Garendo. What were you going to say?
It seems like people are arguing in the comments about whether or not this is a meaningful game for Detroit. I'm pretty positive it's not.
I believe it's not. I mean, I saw Lindy make a whole like SGP based around like basically fading them in like the second half or whatever. And yeah, I'm looking at the consensus for Garendo. Hard Rock has it 11.5. BetMGM has it 11.5. Bet365 has it 12.5. DraftKings has it 13.5. FanDuel has a 14.5. So just make sure to shop around, guys. As I said, would play this up to, I think, 15.5 for 1.5 units. Really like this play today.
Really like it. And yeah, so the winner of the Lions-Vikings game next week is the 1 seed regardless of what happens tonight. So this game is essentially meaningless. It's not. The question is not whether or not this is a meaningful game for Detroit. The question is whether or not Dan Campbell gives a shit whether it's meaningless or not, because Dan Campbell, I think, would still want to beat the 49ers by 30 points regardless, like just because he's a freak. Like he gets off on shit like that. So that's the question. It's more a question of Dan Campbell and the Lions team rather than whether or not the game's actually meaningful. And by the way, if you want to play that game and say, hey, this game doesn't mean anything for the Lions, what the fuck does it mean for the 49ers? Like, it doesn't mean anything for them either. They're eliminated. It doesn't mean anything for the 49ers either. You can't point at the Lions and say, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything for San Francisco either. So
actually, part of the reason I didn't get to the Gibby bet is because of that reasoning of that there is that partial factor of like if it doesn't mean anything. I think that Dan Campbell's crazy enough that if they were like, I don't know, 14-0 and they already had the season unlocked, that they would just keep going the next 3 games and not even pull their starters. Like, they're that insane. I don't really think they give a fuck. They just they're chasing history, they're chasing pride, they're chasing grit. Like, I don't know. They play football the right way, yada, yada, yada. So,
S-Dot asked a lean on the total. Let's check pace real quick for you, S-Dot. Because I actually didn't even look at this. I took the Lions team total. I should have looked. I took a team total over. I should have at least glanced at the pace recently. Since week 8, San Francisco. Ooh, this is not good for my bet. Since week 8, San Francisco 29th in pace. Detroit 25th. So since week 8, we're talking about 2 of the slower pace teams in the NFL, which probably is irresponsible of me to say. I'm just looking at that for the first time now. Yeah. As you can see, I don't feel very strongly about this game. But yeah, so pace-wise, these are 2 of the slower teams. You obviously expect Detroit to run the ball a lot. Probably makes it tough to get up and over 50. So I don't know if I would take an over there. But I am on a team total over, so a little contradictory there. Should we talk some college basketball?
Yeah, let's get.
What is the poll on, by the way?
What happened? The poll is on the Lions pretty heavily. We actually have more people on both totals than the San Francisco 49ers here. Don't know if I've ever seen that.
It's a prime. Okay, one more thing before we switch over to college basketball. I saw a couple people in the comments reference the Detroit-Houston Sunday night football game. And if you remember that, similar in a sense, Detroit was on the road in Houston. They were laying this exact number. It was 3.5. I took Texans plus 3.5, won by the hook. They ended up winning by 3. So, and it was very similar in a sense where the whole world, nobody was taking the Texans. The whole world was taking Detroit. Here's the difference in this game. For me, here's the difference from my perspective. In that game, I actually liked the matchup for Houston. I thought they matched up well on the interior. I thought they give the Lions problems trying to run the ball, which turned out to be true. I don't like the matchup for San Francisco. They're terrible against the run. They're terrible at staying on the line of scrimmage when it comes to the defensive front. So I don't like the matchup for San Francisco. I think this line should be 4.5, 5 at least. So yeah, I'm on Detroit.
Also, Houston pass defense at home this year has been insane. Let's not forget that. I mean, the same defense at home that shut down Josh Allen, Tua, and Goff.
Yeah.
All 3 of those guys. I mean, I know Lamar Jackson did go into there and
And we're talking about a 49ers defense missing Travarius Ward as well.
They're missing, Travarius Ward. They're missing some other guys, Greenlaw. So, yeah, definitely. I don't hate your angle. And Ryan Wicarendo. So let's get Toasty on the screen.
Let's bring Toast on about college basketball. College hoops.
Best of luck, everybody. All right.
Someone said the 69ers aren't getting more than 13 points. Stupid. Hey, Toast, how's your weekend?
Fantastic. Like 6 units yesterday.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah, I didn't lose. I lost like 2 bets yesterday. Two of my, no offense to Beaver, but 2 of my losses were downs on the ladder. And I was like 13-4.
After the 1 p.m. slate, my only loss was downs.
Listen, I blame Thomas.
Hey, we hit Bucky Irving together.
You know what
Chig together. I had Chig touchdown because of you.
Chigopotamus was balling, bro. But
yeah, he was.
Yeah, I do blame Thomas. He's an asshole.
The perfect summary of the betting community. After the 1 p.m. slate, I had 1 loss. It was downs. I had won every other game, so I was sitting at like 5-1 or something. There 6 comments came in, all about downs. Like this is like what it's like in the sports betting YouTube community. You could go 8-1, all the comments will be about that one.
Yep.
I mean, that was just ridiculous. I don't even know what to say about Josh.
Flacco must have been mad at him. All right, Cincinnati, Kansas State, true road game here, right?
Yes, very much a true road game.
So who do you like?
I like Kansas State, and I like them a lot. That's kind of a scary situation. It's either them or I don't know if Arkansas is on the run line or not, or on the run line. I'm still a baseball guy on the rundown or not, but it's them or Arkansas for me is the plays of the day. I don't understand. I know that this number is bumped up to 4 now. I don't care at all. I made this number Kansas State -1. Is Kansas State a bad basketball team? Yes. Not going to get any arguments out of me about that. But if you take a look at what they've done their last 3 games, 3 losses, all the losses on the road, 1 to number 16, St. John's. You're not expected to win that game. The Drake game that they lost in overtime, that was a really close game. It was a semi-home game, and Drake's a pretty decent basketball team. And then they lost. They got absolutely slaughtered on the road to Wichita against Wichita State. But you also have a Cincinnati team that I feel like is so overvalued in the marketplace. It's not even funny. I mean, just looking at Cincinnati's schedule, this is kind of like a rhetorical question, but find me a game that you're impressed with what Cincinnati has done, because they lost. They're the best team that they've seen so far is quote unquote Villanova, which was a road game, what like tonight is. And they got beat by Villanova, and Villanova is absolutely terrible. They had a decent win against Xavier. We all know Xavier's terrible coach and they're a terrible basketball team. The fact that they're a top 60 team is kind of nonsense to me. And then the only game that Cincinnati was like, man, they looked good, was against the Dayton. But I mean, you can really poke holes in that. I mean, Cincinnati had a fantastic first half where they were up by like 15 points. And then in the second half, it really kind of got dicey at times. They ended up winning that game by like 7 or 8, but it got really dicey. And if that's what you're going to be playing, and that game wasn't a true home game, but still, now you're asking this Cincinnati team that has a strength of schedule of 305 in the nation to go on the road in conference play and play a Kansas State team that's out their absolute worst. I mean, this is like their season on the line for Kansas State. I just feel like this is not a spot where you should be laying points with Cincinnati here. Yes, the Cincinnati defense looks very, very good, especially when you look at them at like KenPom and stuff like that. But how much is that aided by the shitty schedule that they've played? I'm just not in a position where I feel like it's enough to back them laying multiple possessions here on the road. Not to mention the fact that Cincinnati has done a really good job of rebounding this year, but Kansas State has done a pretty decent job on the boards as well. As Kansas State's one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country. So I just feel like you're going to get an all-out focused effort from Kansas State here today at home in the Octagon of Doom. I made this game, like I said, Kansas State -1. It's up to 4 now. It's kind of been hanging around 3.5, 4 all day. I think that this is like essentially like the season for Kansas State. If we don't see a good solid effort out of Kansas State here, they might just be dead in the water and there's nothing to worry about. But Kansas State also can shoot the three ball at a pretty decent rate. The only thing that would bother me about Kansas State is they can't shoot free throws. But guess what? Cincinnati's at number 309 in the country. Well, guess what? Cincinnati 324 in the country at shooting free throws as well. So I'll take the team at home that I think is playing for their season. They can hit their three balls. And again, we'll see what happens. But again, I just don't feel like Cincinnati should be this big of a favorite on the road, especially to open up conference play. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
All right, next game. I'm not betting that. Houston, Oklahoma State. Gundy?
I don't have a play in this one. It'd be Houston or pass for me.
Oklahoma
Oklahoma
a little
State,
short, right?
Yeah, again, Oklahoma State hasn't looked terrible to start the year, but at the same time, the 3 or 4 times that they've kind of stepped up in class and played a top 50 or 100 team or whatever you wanted, they've looked pretty bad. All those games were on neutrals. They weren't road games or anything like that, but Nevada, Oklahoma, Florida Atlantic, they didn't really look competitive in any of those games. And now you're going to face a Houston team that I will give you hasn't really looked good against upper echelon competition, but teams like Butler, Troy, Toledo, Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, all those are their last 4 games. They've absolutely destroyed all those teams by 15, 20 plus points. So again, in conference play on the road, do I really want to lay 10.5 with a team that I don't really think can score that well? I don't know. But at the same time, there's just no way I can get to Oklahoma State here. My issue with Houston is that they're like one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country. They're shooting like 42% as a team. I just have a hard time believing that last. And again, on the road in conference play, maybe things get a little bit tight going into at the end of this game. But again, it'd be Houston or pass. I just cannot play Oklahoma. Like I said, every time that they've played a team with even somewhat of a pulse, they've been blown out of the water. And if anybody wants to talk about the Miami game, Miami's fucking terrible, absolutely terrible. So the fact that they even won that game, I mean, it doesn't even matter to me. So it'd be Houston or pass. It's just really hard to bet Oklahoma State in this game.
All right, next game, and someone brought up the Iowa team total over. Yeah, that hit already. Unfortunately, I made that video and woke up this morning, decided to bet Iowa plus 2.5 instead. So you guys all won, and I'm still sweating here. Iowa plus 2.5. Everyone else, I'm getting congratulated, like text. Thanks, man. Great hit. And I'm sitting here like, shit, I didn't win yet. So TCU on the road at Arizona, 14.5.
It'd be TCU or pass. I'll go over a couple games that I did bet as well. I didn't get to talk to Chance Andy. He's been kind of sick, but I'm not at a point where I think that Arizona should be laying a huge number against anybody, especially anybody that has somewhat of a pulse. Not that TCU is a great basketball team, but I mean, you look at Arizona when they've played any team in the top 50 or whatever, UCLA, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Duke, Wisconsin, they lost all those games. Again, only one of those games was a semi-home game against UCLA, but still, I mean, you're asking a lot in conference play to start conference play out against a TCU team that, I mean, hasn't been terrible. They've played a somewhat decent schedule. I mean, they've also played teams like Michigan, Santa Clara, Colorado State, Xavier, Vanderbilt, all those teams in the top 75 as well. My issue is that TCU hasn't played very many true road games. They've only played one true road game. That was against Michigan. They lost that game by 10. But I do think that Michigan's a better basketball team than Arizona is. Not that, as Andy likes to say, not that NCAA basketball is transactional, but I would bet on TCU if they could hit their free throws. But TCU is one of the worst. They're 344th in the nation in shooting free throws. So if this game is even somewhat competitive, I don't want to lose a bet because TCU can't shoot their free throws, and Arizona is one of the best free throw shooting teams in the country. But at the same time, Arizona we know likes to run at a really fast pace and shoot the three ball a lot, but they're really terrible at shooting the three ball. And I don't really know if their rebounding is going to be as significant in this game because TCU has actually done a pretty good job on the boards this year, defensively and offensively. I think the TCU matches up with them size-wise as well. I just don't feel like you can lay whatever the number is now, 14.5, 15.5, whatever it is, like with this Arizona team right now, the way that they've been playing. So until I see Arizona play a somewhat decent team and play well against them, I can't look to lay points with them. Because keep in mind, like the only times that Arizona's looked good against teams like this, Canisius, Old Dominion, Davidson, Southern Utah, Samford, Central Michigan, not that TCU is like head and shoulders above them, but they're at least 40 spots better in KenPom than all those teams. So I just have to see it from Arizona to lay a number with them. So it'd be TCU or pass because TCU can also play with a little bit of pace as well, which is something that Arizona doesn't have to worry about. So
Iowa stalling this drive out on the 10. Next, we got one more game to do. Iowa State, Colorado.
This numbers went down a little bit. I'm on Colorado here. I kind of like Colorado a lot today. I understand that people are going to say or see that these two teams played earlier in the year in Hawaii and Iowa absolutely beat the hell out of this Colorado team. But again, that was Island Rims. That was both of these teams playing their third game in 3 days. I don't really know what the motivation was for Colorado and or Ohio State in that game or Iowa State in that game. Not to mention the fact, if there's one thing that I know about years of betting college basketball is that you can't trust Tad Boyle's teams on the road. You can really trust them at home. And you're getting an Iowa State team. Again, Colorado hasn't played some like crazy good schedule either, but who has Iowa State played besides those 3 games in Maui where they played Auburn, Dayton, and this Colorado team? They had 1 game against Marquette. They looked pretty good against. Besides that, they're playing teams like Jackson State, Omaha, Nebraska, Morgan State, Mississippi Valley State, Kansas City. I mean, their strength of schedule is 255 in the country, number 255 in the country. And now you're asking them to travel across the country in their second true road game. And not to mention the fact their first true road game was against Iowa. That's like a short trip. I don't even consider that a huge away game for them because you're going to have fans there with them. You're not going to have any Iowa State fans here in the building here against Colorado. Iowa State's not used to playing at games at altitude. I think that helps Colorado a lot here today. Not to mention the fact that Colorado, I think defensively is a lot better than people think they are. I know that Iowa State's a very good defensive team, but Colorado is only like 30 spots worse defensively. Not to mention the fact that if I feel like Colorado can be in this game, it's going to be able to shoot the 3 ball. And that's the one thing that Iowa State hasn't defended as well. And Colorado's shooting almost 38% as a team. And that's just what they do. Not to mention the fact that Colorado can match up with Iowa State height wise. Colorado is one of the bigger teams in the country. Iowa likes to play a little bit fast. And I don't think that's going to bode well for them playing here in the altitude. I don't really care how long they've been there. I just think this is a very, very bad spot for Iowa State. I made Iowa State -6 in this game. I don't think that Colorado probably wins it, but I got Colorado at 10.5. Just the idea that Iowa State's going to get on a plane, travel across the country in altitude, and their first, I consider it their first true road game because I don't really put too much stock in that Iowa game. In their first true road game, not to mention it's a conference game. I just have to see it to believe it. So I also think that the Iowa State offense looks a lot better than they really are, considering that they've played absolutely nobody. And then when they did play good teams like Auburn, Dayton, and Colorado, they had the luxury of those island rims in their favor. So again, I just don't put too much stock in the Iowa State offense. Defensively, they're very good, no question about that. But I think that Colorado actually matches up pretty damn well against them. Not to mention the fact that Colorado is one of those teams that, like I said, they play well at home, and I just don't understand how you can make this. Again, I just don't understand how you can make this game 10. I know a lot of people are saying these two teams played before, but I understand that Colorado hasn't played a great schedule either, but you're asking a lot of this Iowa State team, like I said, to travel across the country in altitude to win by 4 or 5 possessions. I just don't see that happening. I think Iowa State wins, but I think Colorado stays in this game for the most part.
All right, let's go community parlay.
Community parlay, the parlay we bet, yeah. Community parlay is for the community. We community, making a parlay. Yeah.
Do you have a underdog pick'em for this game?
I was on mute. Nah, I couldn't get to a pick for the Lions because of the
right.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna save it for the Actually, no, there's no Thursday game either. I'll make an NBA one.
Tell Andy to make one for the playoff games. We got college football playoffs.
Yeah, I'll have him.
Tell his sick ass to get off his ass.
Have him make one for tomorrow. That rat bastard.
I also did play Jake Bates over 7.5 kicking points for the Lions.
Jake Bates.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then maybe we'll.
I remember back in the day because I used to be into fantasy football. I used to know all the kickers' names. I feel like I know like 10 kickers in the NFL now. I just don't give a shit.
The only reason I played him is that I feel like if Detroit's going to move the ball like you did, like you said with their team total, I also feel like the San Francisco defense should be able to play okay, because at that line sitting at 3.5 this whole time in the world betting the Lions, something's got to give. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe the Lions don't punch a whole bunch of touchdowns in and they have to settle for some field goals. That's kind of my thought process on that.
I mean, I would imagine that means there's some sharp money somewhere betting on the other side, keeping the number in check, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, so Nick's money line is the first leg.
Another game I also liked for you guys that we didn't talk about, Arkansas minus 18.5. It's 17.5 now. I like that even more. It was either that or Kansas State as my plays of the day. I think Arkansas should absolutely kill Oakland today. Oakland's just in an absolute terrible spot after playing 2 games in Hawaii. Both of them went to overtime. Now they got to travel to Arkansas and play Arkansas. Keep in mind, Helms brought this up in the Discord as well, that keep in mind, Coach Cal has some revenge because he lost to this Oakland team in the tournament last year as well. So I don't think that the foot's going to be left off the gas pedal in this game. I think Arkansas wins by 20 plus.
Nick's money line, Cavs money line. So let's put Lions money line in this one. We'll put Bulls money line because people voted for that.
Also played Bryant plus 13.5, Santa Clara plus 5.5, UCI minus 3.5, Presbyterian plus 18.5. They're all posted with write-ups on the website, but just letting everybody know who's watching the show.
All right, let's see. I want to see. We'll put one of the college basketball games in here. They probably liked Houston, so we'll put Houston.
Put in Snooki State.
Snooki State.
Mm-hmm. Gotta take the points.
All right, we're going the first and second place from this poll are getting in. So it's going to be Lions and somebody because everyone's going to click on the Lions.
I haven't really liked Snooki State ever since Pukaberry left them.
That's actually really funny you say that to us, because I was just going to say that Pukaberry actually was one of Snooki State's finest. So
yeah.
So it's going to be Lions and Bulls, by the way.
All right, so let's calculate that.
Dude, Brady Cook is making some throws in this game despite missing all of his receiving weapons. Got to give him that.
Also, if I need a good laugh, I just scroll back to that Thomas Downs picture with his jersey on backwards. I thought that was one of the funniest things I've seen in so long. I was in straight tears.
There's no Horatio Alberts on the field for Mizzou either, and Brady Cook is still throwing like this.
So Luther Burden is his name. Also the tight end. The
It's
third
not
wide
Horatio
receiver.
Alberts?
3 of their top 4 receiving weapons are out.
Plus 290.
Plus 290. So the community parlay is Knicks money line, Cavs money line, Bulls money line, Lions money line, plus 290. Another deep ball here for Missouri, refusing to go quietly. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. Huge couple days coming up. Tomorrow there's 5 bowl games. There's 4 bowl games and 1 college football playoff game at night, Penn State, Boise. And then obviously New Year's Day, 3 college football playoff games. So the next couple days are electric for college football. So I'll be uploading a video tonight and a video tomorrow. Let's have ourselves a good one. Please remember to bet responsibly. Hit me up at